Welcome back guys to another video. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video. Let's get started. Chapter 4 Wyu, another chapter. My muses are working overtime. But before you read on, check out my replies to the interesting reviews I have from the readers. MJ Doom, yes, Nin is only mentioned in Hunter x Hunter, but I'm sure there are other mangas out there who have variations, like Aura, Psychic, etc. Crescent Melody, no need to worry. I dislike harem as well. Even if I do have fun reading them, as long as the story checks out, I'm not really good with smut. Lightning Blade 49, thanks for the compliment. I'm not sure how I can incorporate that ability in the plot, but if you have an idea, please let me know. Konatakan 603, sorry for the cliffhangers, but you can never deny the fact that it makes the story much more interesting. Cuckoo, creepy, but I kinda stuck so meh. Faya Sakura, I think adding bleach abilities to Naruto would be overkill at this point. I don't want to make him too strong after all. Addies, Naruto with an animagus form? I don't think there's need, but it's a cool idea to consider. Oregon Ducks, he can already turn invisible, refer to where he infiltrated a bandit camp and stole their loot. Again, learning mind arts is a cool addition, but I don't know how to integrate that into the plot. If you have an idea, let me know. Now that's over and done with. On with the story. Disclaimer, I don't own Naruto or the abilities Naruto has that is similar to other works, Hunter x Hunter, Black Cat, Harry Potter, etc. Give credit to where credit is due. Previously on Uzumaki Naruto, Konoha's wizard Kyuubi told Naruto that he only had 20 seconds left before the match ends. The blonde immediately switched to offense and lunged forward towards his opponent, catching him off guard. He jumped when Mizuki launched a clumsy leg swipe and lashed out with a swift right kick that hit the instructor on the face. Not letting up his attack, Naruto used the momentum of the kick to spin and use his left to backhand Mizuki on the same area, enough power to throw him out of the ring. The match ended with the entire student body in total silence. A genin just knocked a chunin out of the ring in 2 well-placed hits, and it was obvious to his friends that Mizuki wasn't holding back. The silence was broken when Iruka announced Naruto as the winner. Uzumaki Naruto, Konoha's Wizard Chapter 04. Everyone went back to the testing room to await the final portion of graduation exam, Ninjutsu. They have to wait a while because Mizuki needs to be carried to the nurse's office to be revived, since Naruto's blow to the face shocked the white-haired instructor so much that he lost consciousness, though what they didn't know was that Naruto enhanced his strength using chakra magic just to get even with the traitorous shinobi. It was 30 minutes later that Iruka came in with an angry Mizuki in tow, who was quite put out that his plans to fail the blonde Jinchuriki backfired on him. The worst part is the humiliation of getting knocked unconscious by an academy student who hasn't even made genin yet. He swore revenge and would be damned if he can't fail Naruto on the next part of the exam. Quiet everyone, shouted Iruka. Thankfully, the rowdy students complied. Thank you. The final portion of your exam is ninjutsu. You will be asked to come in front to demonstrate the 3 basic academy jutsus taught to you during your attendance here in the Konoha Shinobi Academy, namely Henge no Jutsu, Kawarami no Jutsu, and Bunshin no Jutsu. When your name is called, please come to the front and demonstrate your mastery over the basics. Over the course of the exam, Naruto noticed that a lot of the civilian students failed. Some didn't get the details right in their henge. Some failed to properly kawarami themselves with any object in the room, though many were able to master the Bunshin no Jutsu since it didn't take much to create an illusionary clone. Of course, the clan heirs were properly trained by their parents to master the techniques to make sure that they wouldn't embarrass the clan they are representing. They performed the techniques perfectly except for a few who utilized variations of their family techniques, like Shino, who used a bug bushin instead of the illusionary one. Most created just 1 clone, but Sasuke was able to make 5 of them with ease, though Naruto doubted it was because of competency, since the Uchiha has above average chakra reserves compared to his classmates due to his constant training, and his lack of control would have been disastrous in creating a single clone. Instead, he distributed his energy to create 5 stable clones instead of an overpowered one, which would have doomed him. As expected, his fangirls went all out in their praise to the blonde Jinchuriki's amusement. Naruto's name was called after the self-proclaimed prodigy, so he stood up from his seat and walked up to the 2 instructors who were eyeing him, one with mirth while the other was full of hate. He ignored the latter and chose to give Iruka a smile. Okay Naruto. In order to pass this portion of the exam, you need to first use Henge no Jutsu, then Kawarimi, and finally, create a bunshin. Understood? Asked Iruka in a serious voice with his ever-present clipboard in front of him. Gotcha, Iruka-sensei. Let me start things off. Henge, shouted Naruto, who was suddenly covered in smoke which dissipated after a few seconds to reveal Mitarashi Anko in all her seductive glory. Which means that she wasn't wearing much, that caused both Iruka and Mizuka to sport a pair of nosebleed from the perverted sight. Wanting to cause more chaos for his two teachers, Naruto decided to act in an Anko-ish way that would drive his point home. He licked his lips, which appeared quite seductive in his Anko disguise. This time, Iruka and Mizuki was propelled off their feet by a massive nosebleed which caused the rest of the class to roar in laughter. Naruto dispelled the henge and was smirking at the two downed chunin. After getting back on their feet and wiping the excess blood from their noses, the two instructors glared at the blonde for making a fool of themselves. Next time, try to pick a more simple henge, Naruto, but good job anyway. That was a perfect transformation. I wonder how you got the details down so perfectly, asked Iruka with curiosity in voice and a small blush on his cheeks. This caused Naruto to raise an eyebrow. It seems that Iruka has the hots for his adopted sister. Another opportunity for chaos caused the blonde to inwardly smirk. Well, she usually hangs out at my place from time to time, or we usually spar with each other if time permits. Why do you ask, Iruka-sensei? He innocently asked his mildly blushing instructor. He didn't want to tell people that his adopted sister was living in his soon-to-be clan house, since that would cause the rumors to spread like wildfire. He needed to protect his sister's interests after all. Oh, nothing. Just curious, that's all. Now, do a kawarimi, would you please? Iruka said immediately, since the blonde was smirking at him in a manner that made him nervous. Naruto nodded and flipped through the required seals and released his chakra to replace himself with someone he had in mind. In Naruto's place was one Mitarashi Anko, who was about to remove her coat to reveal her chain mesh shirt underneath, which showed a lot of her skin underneath. She wasn't wearing any bra. What the fuck am I doing here? She bellowed while looking around. The girls in the room were giving her a glare while the boys were blushing like mad. Mizuki was sporting a nosebleed while Iruka was as red as a tomato. Anko turned to Iruka, leveling him an accusing glare. Well, she asked in a threatening voice that promised untold pain if no answer was given. But before he could answer, Anko disappeared to reveal a smirking Naruto. Damn, I thought she was still in the kitchen, but I guess she was about to change to her sleeping clothes. Oh well, said Naruto, though the smirk never left his face. Iruka simply glared at the blonde, since he knew that it was done on purpose. Naruto, for your final test, please do a bunshin. This time, do it right and no pranks, demanded Iruka in a testy voice. Prank? Who, me? I never. Naruto defended himself while putting on his most convincing innocent facade, but the slight twitching of his lips told everyone that the blonde was lying through his teeth. Just do the test so we can get this over and done with, said Iruka in a tone that promised untold violence if it wasn't followed. Fine. You guys can't take a joke. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, shouted Naruto, and 10 identical Narutos appeared behind the original. Iruka and Mizuka stared at the clones and the original in shock. The boy, a mere academy student, just created 10 shadow clones without even suffering from exhaustion. Right. You passed, Naruto, stuttered Iruka, who wanted to get this day over and done with so he can get wasted to forget the shock this day was giving him. However, Mizuki has other plans. Wait, Iruka. Naruto didn't do the required clones. He is supposed to do a bunshin, not a Kage Bunshin, explained Mizuki in an overly sweet voice. What do you mean, Mizuki? There's no such rule. He was, however, when Naruto stepped in. Well, there's no rule stating that an academy student can't do Kage Bunshin, or any bunshin for that matter. In fact, if my version of bunshin is not acceptable, then Shino should have failed as well because of the different technique we used. Besides, the Hokage explained to me that I couldn't hope to create a regular bunshin due to my large chakra reserves unless I have control like that of Tsunade of the Sunin, explained Naruto in a businesslike tone. This got a nod from Iruka and a scowl from Mizuki for having his plan thwarted. Again. He is correct, Mizuki, said Iruka, then turned to Naruto and smiled. Congratulations, Naruto. You passed the exam. Please take your headband from the desk and go back to your seat so I can give some last-minute instructions. Naruto happily nodded to Iruka and picked out a black Konoha headband from the pile on the desk before putting it on his head. He was about to go back to his seat when he felt a cold shiver run down his spine and sensed something horrible was about to happen to him. He was interrupted from his thoughts when the door of the testing room was blown out of its hinges to reveal a bloodthirsty Anko holding a kunai. She looked around the room until her eyes rested on a certain blonde who was sporting a frightened look. She gave him the most sadistic grin she could muster, which practically scared everyone in the room. "Hold it right there, Gaki. You have some explaining to do," said Anko with a bloodthirsty smile on her face and licked the tip of her kunai in a way that made quite a lot of men in the room suffer severe tightening of their pants. Squeaking in fright, Naruto turned to Iruka and blurted out a bye before teleporting himself out of there to the shock of everyone in the room except for the enraged snake mistress. Anko was about to go after the blonde but Iruka stopped her. "Anko-san, please inform Naruto to come here tomorrow for team placement at 10:00 am, and don't hurt him too much please," said Iruka with a sigh. Anko gave Iruka a sweet smile before patting him on the cheeks, which caused the academy instructor to blush bright red. "Don't worry, Iruka-kun. I won't hurt him much," she said sweetly before using Shunshin to disappear from the room to scour the village for the blonde prankster. The Hokage was currently enjoying the feeling of loosening muscles as he lounged around in his massage chair while his clones were working on the day's pile of paperwork. He was brought out of his reverie when a loud wail echoed from the forest of death. "No, not there, not there. The Hokage looked at the direction of the forest and turned to his crystal ball to see what his favorite blonde was up to. What he saw made him pale and clutched his crotch as if in pain. He shuddered. "Better him than me," he whispered before deactivating the technique to avoid the gruesome sight. Naruto limped his way towards his old classroom for the team placement. Anko's punishment for his little prank yesterday was inhumane. He would have preferred to be clobbered, battered, bruised, fed to her snake summons, or even suffer from a few puncture wounds here and there. Heck, he would even consent to be barbecued since he knew Kyuubi would heal him right as rain after a few hours. But no, his adopted sister has to be sadistic in her punishment, and kicking a male in the groin was obviously the most inhumane, demonic, and downright sadistic punishment any female could inflict on the opposite sex. This is why he was limping towards his usual seat, thankful that he decided to be very early to avoid his peers. He painfully lowered himself on his seat and conjured a very cold ice bag on his privates to dull the pain. He sighed as he felt the numbness, pushing a little bit of the pain away, not all of it, but enough to make it more bearable. Due to his situation, he didn't notice Shikamaru and Chuji approach his favorite spot in the classroom, looking at him in pity. "Troublesome blonde. If you didn't pull that prank yesterday then you wouldn't be suffering right now," the Nara said lazily without any hint of remorse in his voice. "Yeah, man. You must have a death wish to do something like that," said Chuji, though there was a slight blush on his face when he remembered Anko's figure yesterday. Naruto groaned as he leveled his friends with a look that simply said drop it or else. Both shrugged and immediately sat beside the blonde and kept silent while waiting for the rest of the genins to arrive so the team placement could start. "Q, why is the healing taking so long?" Naruto mentally asked the Kyuubi, wincing slightly when a sudden pain lanced through his body when he shifted in his seat. "I am doing the best I can, Kit. What that sadistic wench did to you was downright monstrous," said Kyuubi as he shuddered. He might be the all-powerful Kyuubi no Kitsune, but he was also a male, so he knew how painful it was to be kicked in the balls multiple times. "Is there any way for me to speed up the process? Maybe use my chakra magic to complete heal it, or maybe numb the pain?" asked a desperate blonde who was clearly in pain. No. Was that a question? Yes, I mean no. There is no way you can use your bloodline for this since you didn't bother to study anatomy. The human body is too complicated to play around with. You might do something wrong and permanently destroy any future chance of ever making your own family, said Kyuubi as he channeled every bit of chakra he could to the afflicted area to heal his container. Naruto winced, but the sudden action caused another bout of pain to lance through his body from his groin. Ouch! Groaned Naruto. Man it up, Kit. Why don't you man it up after enduring 30 minutes of being kicked in the balls by a sadistic kunoichi? Touché. Remind me next time not to play any pranks on Anko-nichan, said Naruto as he sighed when he felt a lot of the pain go away as Kyuubi's chakra finally did its magic. I will. I don't think I will survive another round of her punishment. Even I felt it here in the mindscape. I could have sworn that some of walls herein. Your mind crack a bit at her onslaught. Kuabai promised. It was an hour later when Iruka arrived. When he entered the room, he immediately looked at the blonde with pity on his face. He easily heard the blonde's painful screams from the forest of death yesterday, and he could only imagine the kind of torture the boy was subjected to. After all, Anko was well known in the torture and interrogation division for being a sadistic interrogator, the best one in the business. Iruka stepped up to his desk and looked at the gossiping genins. Okay everyone. Quiet down, said Iruka, who then looked at his favorite blonde at the back of the room. Are you alright there, Naruto? All he got was a groan that made the entire male population in the room wince, since all of them heard Naruto's screams yesterday. Any questions before I start with the team placement? Iruka-sensei, where is Mizuki-sensei? Shouldn't he be here since he is also our instructor and all? Asked a random civilian who passed the exam. Iruka hesitated a bit before giving his answer. Mizuki-sensei is currently busy at the moment. He won't be able to attend this meeting, but don't worry. He's in great hands, answered Iruka. The truth of the matter was that Mizuki was apprehended around midnight for stealing the forbidden scroll from the Hokage's office. Unfortunately, or fortunately in this case, Naruto's screams of untold pain caused Mizuki to freeze during his escape that the Umbu who was chasing him caught up and immediately took him into custody. They successfully retrieved the scroll and placed Mizuki under the sadistic hands of Marino Ibiki, who instructed the Umbu to search for Anko in the Forest of Death, which was the reason why she stopped her punishment of Naruto. He only prayed that his former co-instructor die a quick death, since he knew that the duo could easily prolong the agony to extract as much information as they could from their prisoners. Any more questions? No? Then let's start with the team placement. Team 1 will be composed of. Naruto was lightly listening to Iruka as he listed off the different teams and their respective sensei. It was when he reached Team 7 that Naruto was fully healed thanks to the tireless work of his tenant that he was coherent enough to take note of the teams. He only prayed that his inattentiveness didn't cause him to miss his name being called. Team 7 will be composed of Uchiha Sasuke, Harino Sakura, and Sai. Your Jounin sensei will be Heitake Kakashi. This caused Sakura to scream in delight as if she won the lottery. The male population winced at the volume of her scream, while females suddenly felt a bout of depression for not being partnered with their idol. Iruka-sensei, who's Sai? Asked Sasuke, since he didn't know any classmates of his by that name. Sai is last year's graduate who was put on reserve since he didn't have any team during their team placement. Now he is placed on your team, explained Iruka while reading something from his clipboard that caused him to frown. Sasuke just nodded, accepting the answer, before going back to his brooding. Team 8 will be Abarame Shino, Inizuka Kiba, and Hyuga Hinata. Your sensei will be Uehai Kurane. Team 9 is still in circulation from last year's graduates. Team 10 will be Yamanaka Ino, Nara Shikamaru, and Akimichi Tsuji. Your sensei will be Sarutobi Asuma, he said as he placed the clipboard on his desk and let his gaze settle on Naruto, who was patiently waiting for his name to be called. Uzumaki Naruto, Hokage-sama told me that you will need to go to him ASAP for your team placement. He didn't tell me why, but all I got from him is a note saying it's connected to the thing we talked about 3 years ago, explained Iruka while giving Naruto a questioning look. Naruto returned Iruka's questioning stare with one of his own until he remembered his talk with the Hokage the other day concerning a promise when he attains Genin rank. He finally understood what the Hokage meant and gave Iruka a nod that meant that he understood the message. Can I go now, Iruka-sensei? I need to go to Hokage Jiji immediately, asked Naruto. Iruka shook his head and addressed the entire class. All of you are now Genins of Konoha, so do your best and make the village proud. You may now leave for lunch, but I expect all of you, except Naruto, to come back in an hour to meet your respective sensei. Dismissed. Naruto gave Iruka a wave before disappearing from the room with no one the wiser, except for Iruka, Shikamaru, and Tsuji, who was shocked at the repeat performance of the blonde's strange method of disappearing from the room. Naruto reappeared in the Hokage's office and immediately greeted the old man. Hey Jiji. I'm here. So what are you planning to do? He stopped and paled when he saw who was in the room. In front of the Hokage was his adopted sister, Mitarashi Anko, giving him a bloodthirsty grin. Beside her was a beautiful girl, around 4 feet 9 inches, wearing a purple battle kimono. She had brown hair and eyes. From the looks of it, she was around his age. Hi Anko-nichan, stuttered Naruto as he nervously eyed the snake mistress, whose bloodthirsty grin disappeared though it was replaced with a smirk. How are you doing, Gaki? I noticed that you've healed up quite well, said Anko while eyeing Groin with a mischievous look on her face. Just so you know, if you do something like that again then the repeat performance would be twice as good, she said in a voice that promised delivery. Naruto immediately nodded and sighed that he won't be suffering anytime soon. He could hear Kuwabai giving a silent prayer of thanks to Kami in his mind. The aged Hokage decided to interrupt the duo's bickering before something else happens. Thanks for coming so soon, Naruto-kun. Now I take it that you got my message from Irika. Naruto nodded. Why don't you sit down so that I can tell you about your team? Naruto sat down beside Anko and faced the Hokage, giving him his full attention. I think you will be questioning me right about now why you weren't given a team from your group. The reason is quite simple. Due to your special abilities, you will be partnered with others who have similar talents. You, Anko, and Yakumo here will be forming an elite team that will be under me. In part, I will be acting as your sensei in this matter. You will receive your missions directly from me, and no one else. Any questions? Getting a negative from the group, he each passed of them a blue folder and signaled them to open it. Naruto saw that it was a detailed file of him, Anko, and Kurama Yakumo. The folders contain your personal files taken from the Shinobi Archive. In other words, I have the only copy of your personal info, skills, and achievements and cannot be accessed by anyone. From today on, you three will be my special squad, the Takubitsu Brigade. Anko will be your team leader, and if she is incapacitated or is away on personal missions, Naruto will be the one in charge. Naruto and Yakumo will be registered as a Takubitsu Genin, while Anko retains her rank as Takubitsu Jounin. You still lack one more in your group to complete the cell, but until I find the perfect one for the position, you are your own group for now. The Hokage finished before putting his pipe on his lips, taking in a few puffs of smoke before blowing it out. Ajiji, what is a Takubitsu Genin and how is it different from a regular Genin? Asked Naruto, who was quite excited for being assigned directly under the Hokage but is not familiar with his new position in the shinobi ranks. That is a very good question. A Takubitsu rank is usually given when an individual displays rare abilities that separate them from the normal shinobi profile. For example, Anko here is a Takubitsu Jounin since she is a mistress of torture and investigation, same with her partner Marino Ibiki. A shinobi with a Takubitsu rank is only given by the Hokage and is only given when you have skills that will play an integral role in the village, explained the Hokage. Hokage-sama, can I ask a question? Came the timid voice of Kurama Yakumo. Getting a nod from her leader, she continued. What makes us so special that you gave Naruto-san and me a Takubitsu rank? I think that would be obvious from the file you have in your hands, but I'll be more than happy to explain. Let's start with you, Yakumo-chan. Your bloodline is mostly devoted to Genjutsu, making it easier for your family to utilize this skill. However, you are given a Takubitsu rank because your bloodline has evolved to turn illusion into reality in terms of Genjutsu. Your case is similar to Naruto-kun here. His bloodline allows him to utilize his rare chakra to bend reality to his will, within reason of course. I'm sure he will be more than happy to demonstrate his bloodline to you during your training session with Anko, said the Hokage, but added the last part when a questioning look crossed the girl's face upon the mention of Naruto's bloodline. What do you mean exactly when you say that we will play an integral role for the village, Jiji? Asked the blonde Jinchuriki. It means that you will be taking in missions or tasks that will be of sensitive matter. Your missions profile will be flexible. Takubitsu Brigade will be assigned different missions that I deem you ready. You may be tasked for assassination, infiltration, backup, or even as frontline fighters during a war. Your group will be considered as a combination of tracking, recon, attack, and demolition squad due to your individual abilities, said the Hokage with a smile on his face, since his group were asking the right questions. Does this mean that you will be assigning us D-rank missions? Asked Anko with distaste. The Hokage shook his head. No. The purpose of D-rank missions is to promote teamwork and camaraderie between genins in a team. However, you, Anko, will be in charge of training each other's skills for both teamwork and bonding. The method is all up to you as long as the missions I will be giving you will be successful. Anko nodded with a smile on her face. She never did like D-rank missions since she thought of them as chores instead of actual missions. She vowed to come up with a program so she can test her team's ability to work together, as well as come up with a base for their abilities to fit well with different types of missions. Now to explain further how the team will function. Anko specializes in stealth and assassination. Her techniques and abilities make her a great close to mid-range fighter. Not to mention that her summons fit well with her line of work. Naruto, on the other hand, is capable of close, mid, to long-range fighting because of his skill set, making him the most versatile part of your team. Yakumo here will be your genjutsu specialist and medic. She was trained for a year by Tsunade when she came back to the village after I summoned her, and she ranked Yakumo to be mid-chunin to low jounin in medical skills. The third member I will be putting on your team will serve as your ninjutsu specialist, but I don't have a candidate for the position yet. In lieu of this, all three of you are given permission to recommend anyone you see fit as your third member of the group. If you're lucky, you might find one to fill in the spot before the chunin exams come along in 6 months. So when will we be starting missions, Hokage-sama? Asked Anko. I think I'll give you a week to get your team up and ready with their teamwork. Submit to be a plan of your training program and give me daily reports of their progress. I will call on you if I deem you ready for a mission. Are there any questions? He asked the group in front of him, quite proud of how each of them turned up. Anko, Naruto, and Yakumo shook their heads, so the Hokage dismissed them to get started with their team meeting. Takubitsu Brigade worked like a well-oiled machine after spending 2 weeks in Anko's training program. After the meeting with the Hokage, Naruto teleported his team to his house in Training Ground 43 so they could introduce themselves better, though it's more like Anko and Naruto introducing themselves to Yakumo since the two have already known each other for more than a year. Of course, being the owner of the house, Naruto cooked them a tasty lunch which both females complimented him much to his embarrassment. Afterwards, they introduced each other to start the team dynamics. Naruto found out that Yakumo Kurama was the same age as him and born as the sole heir of the Kurama clan. However, she was possessed by an evil spirit at a young age who sometimes takes control of her body to attack people, usually by utilizing her genjutsu talents on unsuspecting victims. By putting them in the worst forms of mental torture that usually left them with a broken mind. The last straw was when the spirit attacked her genjutsu teacher, Uehai Kurane, which forced the Hokage to seal her abilities so the demon won't be able to utilize her talents to wreak havoc on her clan. This was also the reason why she was restricted to her room in the Kurama clan compound to avoid hurting the Konoha public. However, the Hokage brought over Jiraiya to seal the spirit to the deep recesses of her mind with no hope of escape while unsealing her abilities. Sealing was the next best thing since there was no way to drive it out since it was already anchored deep into her soul. After successfully sealing the malignant spirit, she was then trained on the basic shinobi skills before being apprenticed under Tsunade of the Sunin to learn the medical arts to serve as both medic and genjutsu support for Takubitsu Brigade. After almost 2 years of training, Yakumo's shinobi capabilities was ranked from mid-chunin without her genjutsu but bumped up to mid-jounin when she utilized her abilities. Of course, she demonstrated her unique illusions to Naruto and Anko when they want to know the uniqueness to her bloodline. They could never find out how they got wet by a mere illusion. They talked for the rest of the day, mostly playing 20 questions. Anko and Naruto asked her personal questions, as well as those regarding her shinobi training. Yakumo, on the other hand, found Naruto's bloodline interesting, so most of her questions were directed at the blonde. Anko didn't seem to mind since she already had the file given to her by the Hokage to peruse later, and the 2-week training program will be plenty of time to get to know their new teammate. The first week of training was more on getting to know each other's abilities better, followed by teamwork exercises where Anko assigned the two to hunt specific animals in the Forest of Death. Yakumo was a bit concerned regarding the location of their training ground, but Naruto assured her that the place is a home away from home for both him and Anko. It didn't pacify her, but she trusted her teammate enough to teach her the ropes. Due to the distance between Yakumo's clan compound and Training Ground 44, Naruto decided, with the blessing of the Hokage, to ask Yakumo to move into his place so they could further improve their team dynamics. The genjutsu prodigy didn't accept the offer at first but finally relented after 2 days of going back and forth the training ground to her place. Going back to training, once their teamwork was acceptable to Anko, they moved to individual skills and how to incorporate their abilities for combo attacks. due to the diverse skills the Takubitsu Brigade had at their disposal. Quite a lot of combo attacks have been devised to ensure that they will be ready for any situation they might encounter in the future. For starters, Anko and Naruto make for a devastating team. They found out that the combination of Tai Chi and Snake style work well together. The free flow capability of both styles made it possible for both to go from offense to defense at a shift of a hat. This means that one can go offense, while the other sticks with defense or vice versa. Naruto's accuracy were also put into consideration since the blonde's skills with his guns made it possible to easily hit an opponent even when Anko attacks them close range. The blonde's chain attacks were also paired off with Yakumo's genjutsu ability. Naruto would disable the enemy while Yakumo would put them in an illusion either to incapacitate or to kill, though the latter was frowned upon by Yakumo since she didn't really like to take a life. Naruto was desensitized of killing because of his constant practice in the Forest of Death, though he could never deny the fact that the feeling would be very different when he is forced to take a human's life. Also, due to his teammates, Naruto was forced to train his abilities to include them. He can now increase the size of his chakra shield to a wider area just in case he needed to protect his teammates from harm. He also discovered that he can throw his chakra shield in a relative short distance to protect anyone he wished. This was made apparent when Naruto, in desperation, surrounded Yakumo with a shield when she was about to get hit by Anko's snake summon. Yakumo survived the attack, obviously, but the snake sported a headache due to the impact with the impenetrable barrier. He also improved his telekinesis to the point that he can now fly along with his teammates, though the control would still be up to him. Anko proudly declared that this would greatly cut down on travel time if they need to go out of the village for a mission. One ability that Naruto have that Anko and Yakumo didn't like was his teleportation. They didn't like the feeling of being squeezed when Naruto practiced with them. It was quite disorienting. The only solution they could come up with was to get used to the feeling until they could ignore it. In the end, Naruto had fun taking the two for a ride in random locations in Konoha until to the point that they don't stumble when they arrive at their destination. Weaknesses were also revealed during their 2-week training session. Anko's main weakness was her bloodlust. Once she gets into a long battle, her control starts to deteriorate to the point that all she thinks about is bring down her opponent, with as much bloodshed as possible. Yakumo's weakness was her speed, though Anko vowed to counter that with more training in Naruto's offer to craft chakra weights for her to assist. Also, it seems that she requires 100% concentration when she casts a genjutsu on her opponent. Anko chalked it up to lack of experience and promised Yakumo that she will be able to focus her unique bloodline as she progresses as a kunoichi. Her glaring weakness, however, was her low chakra reserves. Due to her years of confinement, she didn't have enough exercise, that her physical energy was at an all-time low. Despite the training she underwent with Tsunade, her current reserves are rank up to High Genin. Anko and Naruto assured her that she could easily boost her reserves once she undergoes physical training with them. The glint and determination in the eyes of Anko and Naruto when they mentioned physical training practically scared the Shikirama. Naruto's weakness were more on his ability than actual physical skill. For starters, his transformation ability had one major weakness. It doesn't work on people who had chakra running through their system. This weakness was discovered when he tried to transform Anko's snake summons into a rabbit, only to fail. He tried it at Anko, secretly of course, but didn't work. Though Anko found out about it when she felt something alien enter her system. Thankfully, the discovery of the weakness shielded the blonde from getting punished. Anko determined that chakra acts as a deterrent to Naruto's ability, and combined with the conscious control of the Tajitor, will depend whether Naruto can change them or not. They theorized that the stronger the human, both chakra and control-wise, the harder it is to transform them, requiring more power to use. With Naruto's current capabilities, he could easily change a Genin shinobi, have problems with a Chunin, and impossible on a Jounin due to their experience with chakra. However, Kyuubi assured him that he would be able to get past the hurdle once his powers grow with age and experience. Takubitsu Brigade was currently on its way to the Hokage office to pick up their first mission after their 2-week training session. They didn't bother to teleport this time since they could do with the physical exercise, especially Yakumo already began her physical training, wearing a total of 40-pound chakra weights to be increased by 5 every week. Yakumo complained at first, but she relented when Anko and Naruto informed her that this will correct her chakra and speed problems. She was flabbergasted when Naruto told her that both he and Anko were wearing chakra weights as well, since they vowed to continue with physical training despite how strong they are. Naruto is currently at 500 pounds while Anko was at 300 pounds. Anko, Naruto, and Yakumo entered the Hokage's office to see the aged leader going through mission scrolls along with his clones. "Good morning, Jiji. Long time no see," greeted Naruto. The Hokage looked up from his reading and gave his surrogate grandson a smile. "Good morning, Naruto-kun, Anko, Yakumo-chan. I guess you're here for a mission?" asked the Hokage, already knowing that the team would be coming in today for a mission, which was one of the reasons why he was personally checking out the requests to find the perfect one for them. "Correct, Hokage-sama. As team leader of Takubitsu Brigade, I, Mitrashi Anko, would like to request a C or B rank mission to start things off with my team," intoned Anko formally, which caused the Hokage to smirk. It seems that exposure to both Naruto and Yakumo improved her attitude a bit. I already expected that, so I have the perfect mission for the group. Since this will be your first mission, you are ordered to bring down a bandit group setting up camp at the border of Fire Country and Tea Country. The Tea Daimyo requested for a team to take care of this problem, explained the Hokage while handing the mission scroll to Anko, who accepted it before reading the content. "Do we have any additional information on the bandit group, Hokage-sama?" asked Anko, since the information was lacking on the mission parameters. "I have no substantial evidence, but there are rumors that the bandit group operating there is an organized group calling themselves Bloody Rose. They mostly target wealthy merchants going to and from Tea and Fire Country, and have been causing a lot of both countries' businesses a lot of grief. Your order is to investigate this bandit group, plan an attack, and bring them down. You have 2 weeks. The sooner you get this mission done, the better. This will be classified as a C rank mission but can escalate to a B or A rank if you encounter missing nins, so please be careful," warned the Hokage, since the group was technically in their maiden voyage and only Anko is the only experienced shinobi in the group. "You have nothing to worry about, Hokage-sama. Both Naruto and Yakumo can handle themselves quite well. The 2-week training program yielded good results on both their teamwork and individual skills, so they won't have any problem with this mission," declared Anko, causing Naruto and Yakumo to stand straight in pride over their team leader's praise. This caused the Hokage to give them all a beaming smile. "Of course, Anko. From the reports you handed to me during your training session, I could say that this mission will be easy for the Takubitsu Brigade, but I want all of you to be careful. Missions have a habit to change in difficulty due to different factors, so keep your skills sharp and your mind sharper. I want you all to come back home safe and sound," said the Hokage in a serious tone that brooked no nonsense. Anko nodded and faced her team, who were quite excited with the mission. "Okay team. We have our orders. Time is of the essence. Naruto, I want you to teleport us back to your house so we can restock and bring us to the East Gate afterwards," ordered Anko, causing Naruto to nod in affirmative and looked at his smiling surrogate grandfather. "See you later, Jiji. Wish us luck," said Naruto with a huge grin on his face as he proceeded to grab his teammates and teleported out of the office for their very first mission. It didn't take long for the Takubitsu Brigade to stock up on the essentials for their first ever mission. Of course, they only brought those that Naruto can't create on the fly, like blood pills, chakra pills, food, first aid kit, and the likes. Naruto passed them a pre-prepared scroll containing 50 shurikens, 50 kunaus, 100 senbons, and 10 explosive tags from his stocks in the armory. He informed them that he could create more if there's need, so he told them to not be thrifty in their use. Anko gave him a grin and promised his adopted brother that he would love to use all of them in one sitting if the situation demands it. Of course, Naruto just rolled his eyes at his adopted sister's thirst for blood. Once the preparation was complete, Naruto teleported the group to an alley near the East Gate, since the blonde Jinchuriki didn't want to reveal his abilities as of yet and give his Jiji grief. They made their way to the gate where Anko took care of the guards to record their mission. "Okay team. This is what we're going to do. Instead of just flying there to speed things up, we are going to consider this as a training mission due to the time frame assigned to us," she turned to Yakumo. "We are going to run at full speed towards Tea Country. When you get tired, Naruto will take over. Once you get your energy back up, we will continue the sprint. With the weights on, this will increase your speed, strength, and chakra reserves once we arrive at our destination." Understood. After a chorus of yes from the two, everyone channeled chakra to their feet and sped off towards tea country. Despite Yakumo's lack of stamina, it took 2 hours before she was too tired to continue. Naruto took over and cast his invisibility spell over them and floated them towards tea. He stuck to the main road since he didn't want to get lost. Yakumo announced an hour later that she was good for another round of running, so Naruto landed, took off the spell, then continued forward using their legs and chakra alone. They were halfway to their destination when night came, so the team decided to make camp. Naruto made himself useful by creating 2 tents, one for himself and the other for Anko and Yakumo to share. Naruto cooked dinner since he brought plenty of supplies, since he knew that Anko hated ration bars with a passion. After dinner, they decided on Yakumo taking the first watch, followed by Naruto, then Anko, so they'll be prepared for possible attacks during the cover of the night. It took them 3 days to reach the capital of Tea Country. Despite the slight delay, Naruto and Anko could see the difference in Yakumo when they entered the gates. She could now last for 4 hours in full sprint before getting tired. When they reached the capital of Tea, her weights were already at 15 pounds each. Naruto and Anko marveled at the sudden increase in her stamina, so Yakumo explained to them that her apprenticeship under Tsunade made it possible for her to increase her healing rate through excellent chakra control. Before they could start collecting information on the bandit group, Anko decided to pay the Tea Daimyo a visit for the possibility of getting new information for them to work on. It didn't take long for the guards at the gate to summon a detachment of samurais from the Daimyo residence to escort the group to meet their leader. Much to their dismay, no new information was given by the Tea Daimyo, though there were rumors from the citizens that the bandits were getting aggressive in their raids and attacks. Just last week, one of the fishermen's village located at the coast of Tea Country was raided, which resulted in some deaths, the 2 samurai guards acting as guards of the village, and a lot of property damage. Food, jewelries, money, and important documents were taken by the bandits, leaving the villagers destitute. They left the daimyo residence an hour later after finalizing the mission parameters with the leader of Tea Country. They decided to rest up for the night and proceed with their information gathering tomorrow at first light. They booked 2 rooms in a hotel and took to bed early. The next day was spent gathering information from the citizens. Anko, Naruto, and Yakumo separated after eating their breakfast and donned their disguise to blend in better with the populace. All 3 of them agreed to meet back at their rooms in the hotel around lunchtime for debriefing. Takubitsu Brigade was having a debriefing in Naruto's room after they had a filling lunch in a restaurant adjoining the hotel. As usual, Anko started the sharing of information. I didn't get a lot of information, but it seems that the bandit group started 3 months ago. They started small at first, robbing small-scale merchants that took to the roads from Tea to Fire Country. However, it was only a month ago when they started getting aggressive. According to the old merchant in town, it seems that bandit group has a new leader and recruited the small-time bandit groups in the area, causing their numbers to grow, reported Anko. This caused Naruto to frown. Any idea how large the group is, Anko-nichan? Asked Naruto. I didn't get an exact count, but it should be around 200 to 300 bandits, answered Anko. I talked to one of the merchants as well. He was lucky to survive the attack, but all of his goods were stolen. He reported that the bandit attacked in the middle of the day. It seems that they have some shinobi in their midst, since he told me that his carriage was hit by a large fireball which obliterated it in one hit, shared Yakumo, who was reading out of a notepad, which caused Naruto and Anko to sweat drop at the sight. From the size of the fireball, I would say the shinobi who created it should be high genin to mid chunin in strength. If the coach was destroyed in one blast, then I would assume that it's the latter, mused Anko, then frowned. The mission just bumped up a grade. If there are bandits with shinobi training in their midst, then it would safe to say that they're missing nins. Depending on their actual numbers, this mission could be an A rank. So this means that we need to scout the area and locate the camp and infiltrate to find out their exact numbers and strength. It wouldn't do well for us to just barge in without a plan, especially if they have missing nins in their ranks, said Naruto, already formulating a plan to determine the exact location of the bandit camp. You have any idea how to find their camp, Naru-chan? Anko said sweetly to her adopted brother, who gave her a look. How many times do I have to tell you not to call me that? Growled Naruto. He really hated being called such a childish nickname. Anko grinned. I don't know. I lost count after 100. Cuckoo, said Anko with a smirk. Naruto gave her a look of disgust. That's so disturbing, said Naruto while giving her a mock glare. I know. That's why I do it. Cuckoo. Before Naruto could fire another retort, Yakumo chose to interrupt. Plan now, play later, said Yakumo in a firm tone. Both immediately stopped their bickering since they didn't want to be subjected to another of Yakumo's horrendous illusions. She did that to them once when their bickering got on her nerves during their training session. She placed them under an illusion. Naruto was getting chased by a very large, scary demon without his weapons and abilities, while Anko was exposed to a very harsh illusion where all her favorite dango stands in Konoha burned to the ground. They immediately learned their lessons right there and then. Never make Yakumo angry for the sake of their mental health. Naruto coughed, fighting down a shiver as he remembered the mental torture he was subjected to. Anyway, I have a simple plan to search for the bandit camp. I could make a lot of clones, put them under my invisibility spell, and commanded them to fly around the entirety of T country in a pattern. If they find the camp, dispel to relay the information to me. Naruto outlined his plan to the two. Anko nodded. Can you make that many clones? How long would they last since T country is quite big, he asked the blonde genin. I can create a total of 300 overcharged clones without Kyuubi's chakra, so I think that would be enough. I need to pump them with a lot of chakra since flying and invisibility takes a lot of energy to pull off with some extra so they can last longer than normal, answered Naruto. Why not use Kyuubi's chakra for a boost? Asked Yakumo. The Hokage already briefed her regarding Naruto's tenant and she accepted it without any problems. After all, she had her own inner demon sealed up inside her body, so it would be hypocritical of her to judge her teammate. I don't want to use my tenant's chakra since that would alert potential shinobi spies in the area. I'll surely get tired using my own, but I'm positive that Yakumo-chan can patch me up with her medical jutsu, replied Naruto confidently since his teammate is a well-trained medic. Yakumo smiled at the confidence Naruto was showing on her capabilities. Good thing I packed up a lot of chakra pills then. One pill wouldn't be enough to replenish your reserves, Naruto-kun, said Yakumo as she pulled out her medical pouch and counted the number of pills she packed with her. Anko nodded as she added the finishing touches to the plan. Okay, let's stick with the plan then. After the debriefing, Naruto will exit the capital, go into the forest, create his clones, then teleport back here. Yakumo, you will patch Naruto up when he gets back. He needs to be conscious until one of his clones dispel so he can immediately get the memory without having to dig it up in his mind. I'll go out to mingle with the population to see if I can get more info to help with our mission. Naruto and Yakumo nodded and prepared to get the mission started. Another chapter done. Next chapter will be tomorrow or the next day depending on my availability. Character bio, name Akazu Uzumaki, Naruto, age 13, affiliation, Konohagaku no Sato, village hidden in the leaves, rank, Takubitsu Genin, team affiliation, Takubitsu brigade, teammates, Mitarashi Anko, team leader, Kurama Yakumo, bloodline, chakra magic, unofficial designation since it's not registered, weapon, ebony and ivory, chakra-powered guns, techniques, rapid fire of low-powered chakra bullets using ebony and ivory together to cause blunt force trauma. Duration depends on Naruto's chakra reserves. Twin explosion, 2 guns, overpowered chakra bullet that explodes on contact. Each bullet is equal to 5 exploding tags in power. Rail gun, 1 to 2 guns. Uses: electricity produced by lightning chakra to enforce and accelerate the bullet to cage level speeds, amplifying its piercing power. Weapon: chakra chain armlets. X2. Techniques: chain jail, uses chakra chains to bind an opponent. Bloodline abilities: teleportation, single to mass teleportation, currently maximum of 3 including Naruto himself. Transformation, creation, chakra shield. Semi-automatic defense, area defense, individual range defense, minor fire manipulation, fireballs, advanced telekinesis, flight, group flight, currently maximum of 3 including Naruto himself. Taijutsu, Taichi ninjutsu, Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Henge no Jutsu, Kawarami no Jutsu, Futon, Grand Breakthrough, Futon, Windblades Genjutsu, no abilities in Genjutsu except for detection and dispelling. Fuinjutsu, untested, though already displaying a form of mastery through application of seals on his weapons. Mission stats: S rank, 0 A rank, 0 B rank, 0 C rank, 0 D rank, 0 ability limitation, transformation, cannot transform living beings that has active chakra running through their bodies. Possible but requires more power depending upon target. The more chakra and Welcome back guys to another video. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video. Let's get started. Chapter 4 Wu, another chapter. My muses are working overtime. But before you read on, check out my replies to the interesting reviews I have from the readers. MJ Doom, yes, Nin is only mentioned in Hunter x Hunter, but I'm sure there are other mangas out there who have variations, like Aura, Psychic, etc. Crescent Melody, no need to worry. I dislike harem as well. Even if I do have fun reading them, as long as the story checks out, I'm not really good with smut. Lightning Blade 49, thanks for the compliment. I'm not sure how I can incorporate that ability in the plot, but if you have an idea, please let me know. Konatakan 603, sorry for the cliffhangers, but you can never deny the fact that it makes the story much more interesting. Creepy, but I kinda stuck, so meh. Faya Sakura, I think adding bleach abilities to Naruto would be overkill at this point. I don't want to make him too strong after all. Addies, Naruto with an animagus form? I don't think there's need, but it's a cool idea to consider. Oregon Ducks, he can already turn invisible, refer to where he infiltrated a bandit camp and stole their loot. Again, learning mind arts is a cool addition, but I don't know how to integrate that into the plot. If you have an idea, let me know. Now that's over and done with. On with the story. Disclaimer, I don't own Naruto or the abilities Naruto has that is similar to other works, Hunter x Hunter, Black Cat, Harry Potter, etc. Give credit to where credit is due. Previously on Uzumaki Naruto, Konoha's wizard Kyuubi told Naruto that he only had 20 seconds left before the match ends. The blonde immediately switched to offense and lunged forward towards his opponent, catching him off guard. He jumped when Mizuki launched a clumsy leg swipe and lashed out with a swift right kick that hit the instructor on the face. Not letting up his attack, Naruto used the momentum of the kick to spin and use his left to backhand Mizuki on the same area, enough power to throw him out of the ring. The match ended with the entire student body in total silence. A genin just knocked a chunin out of the ring in 2 well-placed hits, and it was obvious to his friends that Mizuki wasn't holding back. The silence was broken when Iruka announced Naruto as the winner. Uzumaki Naruto, Konoha's Wizard Chapter 04. Everyone went back to the testing room to await the final portion of graduation exam, Ninjutsu. They have to wait a while because Mizuki needs to be carried to the nurse's office to be revived, since Naruto's blow to the face shocked the white-haired instructor so much that he lost consciousness, though what they didn't know was that Naruto enhanced his strength using chakra magic just to get even with the traitorous shinobi. It was 30 minutes later that Iruka came in with an angry Mizuki in tow, who was quite put out that his plans to fail the blonde Jinchuriki backfired on him. The worst part is the humiliation of getting knocked unconscious by an academy student who hasn't even made genin yet. He swore revenge and would be damned if he can't fail Naruto on the next part of the exam. Quiet everyone, shouted Iruka. Thankfully, the rowdy students complied. Thank you. The final portion of your exam is ninjutsu. You will be asked to come in front to demonstrate the 3 basic academy jutsus taught to you during your attendance here in the Konoha Shinobi Academy, namely Henge no Jutsu, Kawarami no Jutsu, and Bunshin no Jutsu. When your name is called, please come to the front and demonstrate your mastery over the basics. Over the course of the exam, Naruto noticed that a lot of the civilian students failed. Some didn't get the details right in their henge, some failed to properly kawarami themselves with any object in the room, though many were able to master the Bunshin no Jutsu since it didn't take much to create an illusionary clone. Of course, the clan heirs were properly trained by their parents to master the techniques to make sure that they wouldn't embarrass the clan they are representing. They performed the techniques perfectly except for a few who utilized variations of their family techniques, like Shino, who used a bug bushin instead of the illusionary one. Most created just 1 clone, but Sasuke was able to make 5 of them with ease, though Naruto doubted it was because of competency, since the Uchiha has above average chakra reserves compared to his classmates due to his constant training, and his lack of control would have been disastrous in creating a single clone. Instead, he distributed his energy to create 5 stable clones instead of an overpowered one, which would have doomed him. As expected, his fangirls went all out in their praise to the blonde Jinchuriki's amusement. Naruto's name was called after the self-proclaimed prodigy, so he stood up from his seat and walked up to the two instructors who were eyeing him, one with mirth while the other was full of hate. He ignored the latter and chose to give Iruka a smile. Okay Naruto. In order to pass this portion of the exam, you need to first use Henge no Jutsu, then Kawarimi, and finally, create a bunshin. Understood? Asked Iruka in a serious voice with his ever-present clipboard in front of him. Gotcha Iruka-sensei. Let me start things off. Henge, shouted Naruto, who was suddenly covered in smoke which dissipated after a few seconds to reveal Mitarashi Anko in all her seductive glory. Which means that she wasn't wearing much, that caused both Iruka and Mizuka to sport a pair of nosebleed from the perverted sight. Wanting to cause more chaos for his two teachers, Naruto decided to act in an Anko-ish way that would drive his point home. He licked his lips, which appeared quite seductive in his Anko disguise. This time, Iruka and Mizuki was propelled off their feet by a massive nosebleed which caused the rest of the class to roar in laughter. Naruto dispelled the henge and was smirking at the two downed chunin. After getting back on their feet and wiping the excess blood from their noses, the two instructors glared at the blonde for making a fool of themselves. Next time, try to pick a more simple henge Naruto, but good job anyway. That was a perfect transformation. I wonder how you got the details down so perfectly, asked Iruka with curiosity in voice and a small blush on his cheek.